Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Ann Crease, Vice President of Marketing at Landbot. So we're just going to give everyone a few minutes to join, as it seems that we have a very full house today. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Abby Freeman, who is our lead technical support engineer at Landbot. Say hi, Abby.
Hey everyone. So as Rachel mentioned, I'm lead technical support at Landbot. So if you've ever had a technical issue or an issue with GPT, then chances are we've spoken. So I'm curious where everyone's connecting from. Tell us in the chat.
So everyone, as we wait for everyone to connect, please let us know in the chat where you guys are from, audience members. Ronan from Mexico. Marianela from Barcelona. Wow, there's a lot of people. South Africa, India, Canada, Peru, Nigeria, USA. I can't keep up. Wow, Colombia, Egypt, UK. Wow, it is quite the international audience. South Africa, Italy, Portugal. Wow. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. So with that, I think that we can get started. So we have a very exciting discussion today with our panel of experts, as well as a practical how-to session where we're going to build an AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot with you, the audience. So in order to interact with the chatbot at the end of this session, please make sure that you scan the QR code that you see on the screen. It's going to be on the corner of every single slide until we get to the demo part. Okay, so let's start with some context. So Landbot launched our first annual report called The Rise of WhatsApp-Led Growth. We surveyed 600 marketing and customer experience professionals and contrasted their answers with consumers. So you may ask yourselves, why did we do this? Well, we wanted to do this to get a deeper perspective on consumer expectations versus reality when it comes to WhatsApp automation, and then also see if businesses were aligned to consumer preferences. We also delved deep into ChatGPT and to see what it means for marketing and customer service professionals, but we're going to get to that. So I'm going to start off with a question to the audience. You're going to see a poll pop up on the screen right now, and it's going to ask you if you have had a chance to see the Rise of WhatsApp-Led Growth report. So that poll is going to be popping up any minute now. Okay. I think we might be having an issue with the poll. It should be popping up. Yes, it is. Okay, here it is. Have you had a chance to see our report? Yes or no? Go ahead and answer, audience members. Give you a couple seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and close the poll. The results are going to come up. Okay, so great. I see that some of you actually have, but for those of you who haven't, my colleague is going to be sending a link in the chat right now. There it is. We're also going to include that in a thank you email after this webinar. Audience members also, please feel free to send your questions in the chat. One of my colleagues is going to be collecting them and we'll be answering them in the Q&A portion of this webinar. Also, please make sure to scan the QR code so you can interact with the AI chatbot at the end of the webinar. So speaking of our panelists, now that the context has been set, the time has come to introduce our speakers. So let's go ahead and start with James Lowe. I see that maybe John is having issues with connecting. So James and John are co-founders at Hyperscale, and this is an AI-powered conversational tool for automating sales. So they actually built Hyperscale on top of Landbot using our GPT integration to focus on personalized outbound, such as the identification of the right leads and also personalizing messaging. So say hi, James.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Happy to have you. Hopefully we can get John on board as well. And last but not least, we have David Cohen, who's from Meta. So this is the parent company of both Facebook and WhatsApp. I'm pretty sure that everyone in the audience knows this, but I just wanted to say it just in case. So David is the business development lead and partner manager for the EMEA region. So Landbot is now an official business solution partner for the WhatsApp business platform. So David has quite a close relationship with Landbot as we grow our WhatsApp automation product with him. Say hello, David.
Hey, everybody. Very excited to be here and love seeing such an international audience.
Yes, it is quite international. It's amazing just reading what's happening in the chat right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the first section of the webinar. So David, let's start with you. In our report, 60% of consumers said that they preferred to contact customer support via WhatsApp, while 40% said that they would like to receive marketing promotions on the channel. So my question to you is, why do you think that is? And what is it about WhatsApp that is so appealing to consumers? And then also, why are some businesses slow on adopting it?
So I think it's a great question, and it's awesome to me to see you doing this type of research, right? Because we also do our own research, and I love it when partner research matches our own, right? So we're not biased, and so we're seeing a lot of the same. And I think to answer your question, we all use WhatsApp, another business messaging service, but WhatsApp specifically to talk to our friends and family, right? And so I think that it's really taken the lead as the main form of communication in our daily lives. And by extension, more and more, we want and expect businesses to also talk to us on this channel, because this is sort of where we are, right? You go into your email and it's just this sort of big, endless blob of all kinds of stuff that isn't personal and doesn't feel fast or short or easy. So look at these long emails. And WhatsApp is exactly that, And I think that to your question about businesses, I think that businesses have, first off, they are jumping on in a big way. And like from our own data, we see that 1 billion people send a message to a business across our different business messaging channels a week. So people are doing this, it's happening at scale. But I think that businesses still have a good effort in front of them to really catch up to what consumers are expecting. And I think often they just don't really know where to start. And I think that what I always recommend to businesses, and it's great with a tool like yours, and you'll get into the details there, but I think what's great about WhatsApp is think of one thing that's really painful for you or your customers, and try to solve that first, right? That way, even though you have automation or you have agents, you can kind of help customers get what they're looking for quickly. And that helps you also understand the value and use the tools and get comfortable and familiar, so that you can then start to add more features and functions and scale. So that's sort of what I also recommend for those that haven't started, is to do that, right? Think about it, because again, if I'm just looking for something quick and easy, like we do on WhatsApp, I want to be able to do it there easily and quickly, like I said. So starting small and thinking about, hey, just if, I messaged my family, or more likely my mom messaged me, I want to get a quick message. I want to answer what's happening fast. And so businesses need to be ready to do that too.
That's so true. And just the unique conversational aspect and immediacy that happens on WhatsApp. Many businesses maybe are not prepared because they're used to kind of these one-way conversations. And so what WhatsApp is actually asking them to do is have a two-way conversation. And like you said before, think about the customer first. So I completely agree. And that's really an interesting answer. Thanks, David. So I'm going to go ahead and let Abby take the next question.
All right, thanks, Rachel. So James and John, this one is for you guys. As Rachel mentioned previously, you guys have built an AI prospecting solution on top of Landbot's no-code chatbot builder. So Landbot's WhatsApp automation product is great for dealing with inbound leads once they've responded. This means they've come to your website, you've generated the lead by getting their opt-in, which means you can now nurture them. So as your solution is directed at personalized outbound, just colder outreach, how do you see WhatsApp to send personalized messages to warmer prospects so you can close them faster?
Absolutely. And first of all, I think you point out a great thing there, where you have different channels to sort of interact with different types of customers, and where you sort of build that relationship is critically important. So what we did here first was that with Landbot, with this incredible set of integrations that you guys have built, made it super easy for us to launch a prospecting solution, where essentially you can describe with natural language who your customers are, and we'll find you thousands of those leads at once. And then once they start responding to you, that's when you can start getting a choice of where you want to engage them. Of course, you can start engaging with them on email, but WhatsApp's a fantastic place to do that too. And we see a lot of brands who want to build a sort of deeper relationship in a place where people typically would, as they were saying earlier, interact with their parents, with their friends, with their regular interactions. To then be able to interact with a brand in that way is actually a really personal way to do that too. And so when I look at this, I think what's really powerful is really the fact that Landbot has built this incredibly flexible solution, where no matter in terms of our position as a B2B company, being able to build this amazing lead prospecting solution where you can use natural language to actually get leads, all the way into building your own WhatsApp automations to actually be able to have these interactions, and all in this sort of seamless flow. And so that's been sort of super helpful for us, and I think super helpful for lots of businesses out there as well.
Yeah, and just to add a bit to that, yeah, while the WhatsApp stuff is absolutely amazing, like Landbot also has all these really cool features that let you call a bunch of webhooks super easily. So we can easily link it to so many of the other SaaS tools we're using, and it just makes the building process so much quicker than if we had to just code it from scratch. So that basically opens up so much flexibility. And now there's like kind of the AI feature where you can type in kind of what bot you want, and we find that's very good for creating very modular flows, like just taking certain functionalities, like very small things, and then just making it a lot better, and then like linking it all together into a much bigger flow, which is a lot more complex. So yeah, like it's been super helpful so far.
That's amazing. John, happy to see you here. Glad you could
Yeah.
join us. Everything worked out. There's always something that happens in a webinar, right? Little technical difficulties, but hey, we made it. That's great.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next section of the webinar. So audience members, I already see that you guys are writing questions in the chat, which is great. So I encourage you to please still do that. And then also scan the QR code on the right so you can interact with our AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot at the end. All right, so moving on to the second section of the webinar. So according to our report, the top 5 benefits consumers perceive WhatsApp provides are convenience, 24/7 availability, quicker response times, and personalized conversations, as well as individual attention. So David, aside from the benefits perceived by consumers, as you have a lot of experience working with WhatsApp business solution providers, what are the main benefits for businesses using WhatsApp to connect with customers?
So I mean, first and foremost, obviously, you want to be where your customers are, right? So that's an obvious benefit that I think we covered. And I think this is actually where a BSP really comes into play, because at the end of the day, we're providing the surface, right? So we give the ability for consumers and businesses to interact and talk to one another. And, obviously it's convenient and there's opportunities there, but that's where actually working with Landbot can really help, because you want to also be able to manage the flows and the concepts and do optimization. And we directly don't provide that outside of like the templates. And I saw some questions already about templates. So, it's that combination of the tooling that we offer with a strong provider that can connect a data layer or an automation layer to help answer the questions and create, right, a good experience that you can also track and optimize like you can on other channels, right? And so from that perspective, I think that we also offer, of course, all kinds of different tools, images, ways to make the conversation technically look and feel really good and simple. But that in conjunction with the BSP is where the superpower sort of comes in.
I agree. Yeah. And as I said, we are now BSPs. So we're one of those selected few, I guess I would say. So happy to be working with you on this. So, okay, I'm going to pass it over to Abby as she has another question for James and John. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Rachel. So James and John, one of the benefits identified with WhatsApp was personalized conversations. And this is the same value you guys offer with Hyperscale using Landbot's chatbot builder. So my question is, how has Landbot helped you to build a conversational interface needed to make Hyperscale what it is today? And more specifically, how has the OpenAI integration helped you to personalize conversations with potential prospects?
Yeah, for sure. And I see a few questions in the chat as well from folks asking how does Landbot allow you to build with LLMs, with foundational models, and so on. So I think this will come together as an answer for that as well. So essentially, when you think about what Hyperscale does, there's 3 parts to the product. The first is that you can describe the type of customer you're looking for with natural language, and we'll source thousands of leads for you in seconds. The second is that once you've found those leads, we generate personalized messages to each of them step by step. And then once you've got those messages done, the final step is that we can send them email messages and so on to sort of get you the leads. And so when you look at this process, it relies a huge amount on connecting a conversational interface with webhooks into external services, like calling OpenAI's API and also other APIs to do the sourcing and to do the messaging. And what's incredible is that out of all the services we saw to really sort of bootstrap this product, Landbot is really the only one that has a very sort of beautiful visual interface and an amazing set of webhooks for us to connect to. And so when you look at our product, the prospecting, we have our own proprietary algorithms for that. And so we're able to call our own model in the back to do the prospecting. And then once we have the leads, we then call OpenAI's API to help us generate personalized messages for every single individual that's been sourced. And what we're able to do then is to take things like their LinkedIn profile data, things like the posts that I've made in social media and so on and so forth, and then use that to basically create personalized value propositions to every single customer. And so when you think about this, this was probably something that would take you, I don't know, like 20, 30 buttons to do in a traditional sort of UX where you have a sort of massive SaaS interface. But because of what Landbot has enabled us to do, it feels like a chat GPT or a sort of regular conversational interface. And it feels like you suddenly have this personal assistant that's able to do all these things for you. And so that's all thanks to this incredible sort of ecosystem Landbot has created. And also, of course, the integrations with OpenAI that's allowed us to do this at scale.
Thank you.
Yeah, I basically agree with everything James said there. Not really much to add. It's phenomenal to have such an awesome like kind of front end low code tool, because there's a lot of back end low code tools nowadays like Zapier or Make. But Landbot is a very unique one in that it combines a lot of the extremely powerful backend functionality, but it also allows a user to interact with it in probably what is like the most simple way, which is just natural language. It's a very linear flow, so it's much less likely people get confused about which buttons to click on the dashboard, but you always know what really the next step is. They can type in what they want using natural language. They can choose buttons, they can choose from like a list of choices, and it allows us to then combine that with an entire ecosystem of other tools out there, including kind of all the the APIs from OpenAI. And then, yeah, you can actually make something really, really powerful. So you're really only limited by how imaginative you can get.
The only limit is your imagination. I like that. Yes. And we're going to be seeing some of those webhooks later today in the demo bot that we're going to build with the audience. So stay tuned, guys. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and guys, please make sure that you scan the QR code in case you haven't, so you'll be able to interact with our AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot at the end, okay? So we're going to move on to the final portion of the webinar with our speakers, the final section, and then we're going to get into the Q&A. I see that you guys have been asking a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we can kind of get to that as well. So when we ask consumers which types of interactions they would be happy to complete on WhatsApp, the top 5 were accessing customer support, getting delivery notifications, giving feedback, receiving promotions and discounts, and then also receiving news and updates. So James and John, I'm going to start with you on this one. So 20% of consumers said that they would be happy to receive reminders via WhatsApp. So actually at Landbot, we use WhatsApp reminders to increase our show rate to make sure that our prospects attend our sales meetings, because it's hard enough to get a meeting, right? So we want to make sure that they show up. So when we think about the combination between Hyperscale and Landbot, you really get an end-to-end solution to cover the entire sales cycle. So Hyperscale personalizes the outbound colder prospecting process using Landbot, of course, as we've been hearing about. And then that can be combined with our WhatsApp product to politely push prospects into the meeting with the sales team once the lead has been generated. So my question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on this kind of symbiotic relationship that we have between Landbot and Hyperscale? And then also, how do you see the future between both companies and our partnership?
Yeah, look, we're super excited about the partnership going forward. I think exactly as you said, a lot of this is about engaging our customers where they are, as David mentioned earlier. And so being able to find lots of leads at scale over email and so on and so forth, and then being able to connect with them offline on WhatsApp is an incredible way to sort of continue the relationship and also make sure that people actually turn up to your meetings. And we do a bunch of sort of surrounding solutions to this too, where we do things like, for example, classifying the responses from your customers based on their sentiment and their emotions, so that you know which are the positive replies, which are the maybes, which are the no's, and you can differentiate your replies and your sequences based on those observations. And so things like that will really help you sort of deepen your relationships with the customers. And as I look forward, I think what's very interesting is we're in this unique position now where almost in the entire world, anyone could build amazing products basically by leveraging open APIs like what OpenAI has done with the large language models, and also with incredible no-code tools like what Landbot has offered. And so you have this sort of infrastructure layer where you have this ability to sort of build almost any type of product just by imagining it and using a visual builder to put it all together. And I think Landbot occupies a very unique position in that it's probably the best visual chatbot builder out there to do this. With the integrations with OpenAI, you also have essentially the best AI automation integrations there as well. And so when I look forward, I see this incredible future where lots of builders and lots of businesses can leverage these tools, but can also build many, many more of these types of tools on things like Landbot, where you have this sort of incredible ecosystem that continues to grow. So that's super exciting to us. And I think, as John was saying earlier, the only limitation is really our imagination.
Yeah, definitely. So just to add to that, I think the thing that makes Landbot so unique is it takes advantage of natural language at a time where the entire ecosystem around that is just changing by the day with like all the new things that are coming out with OpenAI's development and GPT-4 and things like that. So it really means that Landbot can truly have a use in kind of every business that you can really imagine, right? Like there are always going to be customers who need support on things. There's always going to be customers who, can take advantage of Landbot's ability to create this really nice linear interface, and then you can combine that with other tools. So like kind of how I see the hyperscale and Landbot partnership going forward is like we'll probably make Landbot an increasingly deeper part of our product, and we'll start using it beyond just for being able to type in hey, I want some customers, and the Landbot will give us some customers. But more things like we can add it for customer support queries. We can use it for being able to ask it structured questions about a data set, being able to use it like that natural language interface to like filter the data bespoke. So like it has a lot of like additional uses that we're only really starting to tap into. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting time.
That's really interesting. That's the whole theory behind land and expand. We actually have a lot of clients who come in wanting to do one thing, and then they discover a whole other series of different use cases and end up applying it in ways that they never even imagined in the beginning. So yes, I agree. And I'm really excited to see what you guys do and how our partnership evolves in the future. So thank you guys. So, all right, let's go with David. So why do you think that WhatsApp is a rising star for customer service and support use cases? So that was like the top use case that consumers said that they wanted to access WhatsApp for. So which types of industries do you see using WhatsApp as a channel to provide customer service typically? And can you provide us any examples?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that, customer support across all business messaging and especially WhatsApp tends to be the driver. I think primarily because that's where people think about it first. Usually what's happening is you're getting messages on a channel and you need to then react on that channel, right? And so the idea is, and it doesn't matter if that's, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snap, elsewhere, like you want to start email, of course, phone, you want to start responding. And so I think that's sort of the easiest lean in for most businesses and say, wait, we're getting messages, we need to start answering those messages and we need to do it efficiently. And what makes me happy is actually the rest of these and seeing more and more how businesses understand it, like, that's a reactive way to have a conversation with your customer. But there are proactive ways to do that too, that actually have, I think, often a lot more value for the customer because you can preempt, first off, a lot of the customer service calls and sort of delight your customer before they've even had to call you about something, right? And we see it across all industries. I think that, in terms of like delivery notifications, that's massive for things like the retail industry, right? And it doesn't matter if you're, a drop shipper on, using Shopify or if you're a major global retailer, because if you can send the notifications to your customers so they know when packages are coming, so they know that it's on the way or there's a delay or they need to reschedule, like that can save a ton of overhead for you also on the customer support side of the house, regardless of how big or small you may be, right? So that's one that I think we see kind of happening all the time. And regardless of market, by the way, right? I think everybody wants and expects now to get packages delivered to them. And so it really helps them to know that can be done through WhatsApp sort of directly. So that I think is a pretty big use case that we're seeing. I think the other one is sort of other forms of proactive notification. So if you think about like your utility companies or messages that are important to get, right? So, hey, we're going to shut off your power for the day, or hey, someone's on the way to help you. We actually see that as another one. So, and that can be also government agencies or like those like must get the message to the customer type businesses, because you have a lot of opportunity there to make sure that it gets read, that it gets seen. So that's another big one that I think it doesn't necessarily jump on people's minds, but it is one that is also growing. But I think broadly, like, especially for a tool like yours, having like the retail business is a huge opportunity, because anytime you can think of a message that you would want to send your customer, a catalog, a promotion, something new that you're doing, a store that's opening nearby, all of that now can be delivered in WhatsApp, and we see much higher read rates, much higher response rates than any other channel that is out there today.
Thank you, David. Okay, so we're gonna go to the Q&A portion, and Brian, just to answer your question, yes, right after the Q&A, we are gonna be teaching everyone how to build an AI chatbot on WhatsApp. So yes, that is going to be happening in the next 5 minutes. So right now we did have some questions for the panelists. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move into that, and then we're going to transition into how to build an AI powered chatbot on WhatsApp. And then there'll be a couple surprises there for the audience members. So just stay tuned. We're there. We're on it. So Peter had a question for you, David, asking if there was any market research data from Meta on WhatsApp users that's like available to share. So this one was for you.
Yeah, so like I said, we do have data. It's usually available on developers.fb.com, and we have a section there called success stories, and we offer also, so not just case studies, but we put other data and insights there. We've done some research with Forrester around customer care. So all of that should be available like on the Meta suite or in your business manager as well.
Okay, great. Great, thank you, David. So there was a question as well for James and John in regards to SendPulse. So when you guys were discussing, it was from Salvatore. He asked about SendPulse because it was when you guys were talking about your AI prospecting solution. That is the question for you guys. Any comments there?
Yeah, so we looked at SendPulse, we looked at a few other ones. And really kind of the thing that Landbot stood apart was its flexibility. So SendPulse allows you to, let's say I want to do this and then like send this email, and given these actions do X. But like its webhook functionality and its ability to tie into kind of our own existing tech stack was a lot more limited than Landbot's. So we thought, Landbot would be much more beneficial for us for the long term. And if James has anything to add there, we'll just pass on him with there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Pretty much in line. And also, I think SendPulse is very, very much focused on things like, channel marketing, specific sort of email marketing automation and stuff like this. Whereas what we found with Landbot is that not only is it great for customer support and good for, maintaining customer relationships, like what's been said before, but because of the ecosystem of integrations, it is actually much more of a building tool as well that allows you to sort of create a lot of conversational apps effectively directly from the interface. So we found that very helpful.
Okay, thank you. So I also see that there are a lot of questions specifically for Landbot, so for Abby and myself. So just so the audience knows, we'll be getting to these questions towards the end of the webinar, just so we make sure that we have a solid half hour to build this chatbot with you guys, so you guys can see how it's done. And yes, Alistair, the recording of this webinar will be available later, as well as a couple other surprises that we'll be sending you guys after the webinar, such as the template for the AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot that we're going to be building. So yes, you will have a bunch of different resources at the end of this webinar. So you guys will be able to get started building your own AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot. So in regards to that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the Q&A because, as I said, we want to make sure that we have a solid half hour to build this bot with the audience. So if there are any other questions for our speakers, we'll make sure that you get them in a separate email from me, okay, so we can get back to you guys on that. And with that, it is time to say thank you so much to our panelists for participating. This is where we're going to say goodbye. However, you're welcome to stay and participate in the AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot building experience if you would like. You are totally invited. And so, so thank you so much for your participation. It's been a really interesting conversation. And now we're going to go ahead and transition over to the how-to practical part of this webinar session. So thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful to have you. Okay, So 1 second, I'm going to pull my screen to make sure that everything is correct because I wanted to make sure that I could get to everyone's questions. Okay, so audience members, as you guys have been asking for it, the time has come to create our AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot with the audience. So first off, I kind of wanted to ask the audience a question just so we can understand the different levels of knowledge that we're playing with here in this webinar. So you're going to see a poll pop up now, and it's going to ask you, it also is popping up right on my screen. Are you familiar with OpenAI, ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT 3.5, and even GPT-4? Are you guys yes or no? Just kind of let us know. All right, let's go ahead and close that poll. Let's see what the results are. They're going to be coming in. Okay, wow, 89% of us yes, and only 11% of us no. So great. Okay, so I see that most of us are familiar with these terms, but for those of us who aren't, I'm going to just briefly explain to kind of set the context. So OpenAI is the parent company that developed the GPT-3 series of large language models known as LLMs. So GPT-3, 3.5, GPT-4. GPT-3 and 3.5 are the architecture for the large language model, and GPT-3 is the third iteration of the generative pre-trained transformer. That is what GPT means, and it contains 175 billion parameters to perform a range of natural language processing tasks. So this means that it's more for completion tasks between GPT and users. GPT 3.5 is the newer version of the LLM, and it's meant for more dialogue. So this is like more human-like conversations between GPT and people. And then finally, ChatGPT is the specific use case of the GPT 3.5 LLM that has been trained to respond to a wide range of prompts and questions to engage in conversations with users. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to be using GPT-3. But before we get started, I kind of want to set the scene by telling a story about the use case that we're going to see and build together today. So our AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot is going to be an agent for a delivery service application. So it's going to be acting as an NPS and complaint management bot that is sent to customers after they receive their delivery order. So we can imagine something like Uber Eats, okay? So this bot is going to help us to collect information on the customer satisfaction levels with the delivery service, as well as manage complaints. So if there is a complaint, our AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot will be tasked with collecting information on the order number, the email address associated with the account, and also make a summary of the complaint. So once the bot obtains all of this information, the flow will end. So we're going to build this bot inside of Landbot. So if you don't have an account, my colleague is going to go ahead and send the link in the chat for you to sign up. So that way you can play with the bot template that we will send you later. Okay. And then the information that this bot collects is going to be sent to the customer service team to inform them on the incident. So I'm going to hand it over to Abby now. But before I do, just one last quick question for the audience. You're going to see a poll pop up. And the question is, have you ever used GPT-3 or GPT 3.5 before? Yes or no? Let us know. If you haven't, it's also okay. All right, let's go ahead and close that poll. Waiting on the responses. Hey, the majority of us have, 78% have. That's fabulous. So, but if you haven't, that's okay, because Abby's going to show us how easy and also cost effective it is to use OpenAI and integrate GPT-3 or GPT 3.5 into your chatbot flow. So one thing here, as I'm a no coder, I'm going to be asking Abby questions during the demo so we can have an interactive conversation. So I'm going to be kind of playing devil's advocate. So with that, Abby, why don't you go ahead and take it away and let's go through this demo with the audience.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can get into it. All right, here we go. Give me 1 second. Putting everything in order. Okay, perfect. All right, so in order to use GPT-3 and GPT 3.5, you'll need to create an OpenAI account. And that part is super easy. You just need an email address and a phone number. So one of our colleagues is going to send you the link in the chat to either log in or to create your account. All right, let's talk about pricing. So once you set up your OpenAI account, you'll have $5 in free credit that lasts for around 3 weeks of very heavy testing. And you'll have 3 months to use this credit. So OpenAI's pricing depends on volume and also the model. So some models are cheaper than others, but it's quite cost effective. Our marketing team, for example, budgets around $20 a month, and this month has only used around $3 so far. So as soon as you create the account, you'll be directed to the API key. If you're not directed, just click on the icon and click View APIs keys. You can see I have them on my screen. I've already generated it for this webinar. So since I've already copied the API key, let's go ahead and open the bot that we're going to be using. All right, guys, one last time, we'll be sending the bot to all of you via WhatsApp so you can interact with it. So make sure you subscribe to our WhatsApp-led growth channel with a QR code or with the link that my colleague will send now. All right, here's our bot. So let's talk about what we want to achieve. We want our AI-powered WhatsApp bot to do whatever it takes to get the order number, email, and summary of the issue if our customers weren't happy with their delivery. So we want this information to connect back to our customer service team's database, in our case, Airtable, to check that the order number and email are verified. So let's start with a quick walkthrough of the flow, and then we'll ask for your help as we build the bot. All right, so our bot is divided into 2 parts. The first part is a kind of loop where GPT will ask for information from the user, and the user will input the information, and they'll have that kind of dialogue until it gathers all the information we've instructed it to gather. So a loop is what makes the conversation fluid. You can think of it like a circle. So the loop will continue between GPT until our bot gathers all the information. And for the second part, we're going to create a summary of everything, and we're going to send it to our database. So pretty simple, right? That's all we need to do. All right, just a quick explanation of the first half. So at the beginning of the bot, we're going to create a storage container for the conversation. Right now, we can think of it as an empty box, and later we're going to put the conversation in the box as the conversation is created. So when we send this box to GPT, it's going to act like it's memory, and it's going to help us maintain the conversation. So if GPT has no memory, it's going to ask the same questions over and over again, and we'll be stuck in a forever loop. So after that, we'll connect to GPT, and then back to our bot. This formula is where we'll push the pieces of the conversation into our box, into our memory box as they come in. After that, we're going to display GPT's message to the user and give them a chance to answer GPT's question or to just respond to GPT's message. And then for the last block of the first part, we're just going to check if we can exit this loop or not. All right, so as we said, we want to send this bot to customers after they've received an order. So let's start with the opening message. And audience members will need your help here. So how should we start this message? Should we ask them if they're satisfied?
Okay, audience members, help us out. We need to have an opening message to ask them something like if they're happy with their order or something like that. We're looking for you guys to help us to write the welcome message. This is the first message that they'll receive. Yes, Peter, we will be giving you guys the link to the template. You will have it in the next 10, 20 minutes. Okay, I see Kevin Booker has written, "Hi, how happy are you with your order?" Let's go with that one, Abby.
Okay, perfect. Hi, how happy are you with your order? All right. Should we add a name to personalize it a little bit more?
Yes, let's personalize it. I love this part about Landbot.
Okay, and WhatsApp automatically gives us the name, so we don't need to ask for that before. We'll already have that. So let's say, "Hi name, how happy are you with your order?" Sound good?
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, so remember, we're only going to ask for a summary of the issue if the customer clicks on the angry face. So if you guys are testing this later, just be sure to click on the angry face so you can actually test the bot. Otherwise, if you're very satisfied or mildly satisfied, we'll just tell you goodbye. So don't forget that.
I'll remind us later before we launch the bot, but just so everyone knows, you got to click the unhappy emoji in order to act with GPT at the end of this demo when you receive it.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so the first block is set variable block, where we're going to create the storage for a conversation history. So this is going to be an array. An array is a container, and the container is where we'll add all the pieces of the conversation. So we'll just call this conversation history. All right, and then to show that it's an array or a container, we need to add these 2 square brackets. And this shows us that we have an empty container that's ready to have information added into it.
So Abby, why are we calling it conversation history? Just because I said I was going to play devil's advocate. So I understand that we're calling it that because it makes the most sense to us, but you can call these variables any name that you want or anything that makes sense to you. So just to clarify for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's best practice to use a name that's descriptive, because if we name all of our variables like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then later when we go back and we want to use those variables, it's going to be really confusing and we're not going to know what each variable holds. So the best practice is to use a name that describes what's inside of the variable container or what the variable holds. In this case, the conversation history is what's going to be inside of this variable, so that's what we're going to name it.
Great, thanks.
All right, and it kind of looks like a box, so that's perfect. All right, so now that's the interesting part. We're going to connect to GPT. All right, so we're going to use a webhook block, and this is a REST API block that lets you connect to other platforms. In this case, we're connecting to the GPT platform. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the documentation and check the instructions for connecting to GPT-3.
And the webhook block are what James and John were mentioning earlier in the first portion of the webinar. So it's cool we're seeing this now.
Exactly, yeah. So as Rachel mentioned, we're using the completions model. We can also use the chat model, but for the sake of simplicity, we're going to use the completions model today. And this is going to complete our dialogue. So here it tells us that we have to make a post request to this URL. So we're just going to copy that URL. We're going to bring it into the bot. By default, it's post, so perfect. We just paste it here. All right, let's scroll down. We don't need to add any parameters. We do need to add custom headers because the headers is where we'll add our API key. So let's go ahead and toggle that on. And let's check the documentation for the instructions. All right, so here it gives us a really good example. We can see here H is for header. So this says authorization, bearer, space, and then our API key. So let's just copy this. I'm gonna add it in the header. And then it was bearer, followed by a space and our API key. So I have the API key over here. I'll just grab that. And we'll be deleting this later, guys, so don't try to copy it. You'll waste your time. All right, let me just grab that.
This is our API key. You'll have to use your own.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm just gonna add that right here. Perfect. All right, so it's time to customize the body. So the body is where we're going to send the user question or the user response, and also where we're going to send the instructions for GPT. So let's turn that on. And let's go back to the documentation. All right, so here's the data for our body. We're just gonna make a copy of the curly brackets and everything inside, and we'll bring them back. And we'll paste it here, right? Let's zoom in a little bit. So in this case, we're going to use the model Text DaVinci 003. There are a lot of models, and we've tested quite a few as well, and Text DaVinci is by far the best one, so we really recommend using this model. Okay, so next it's time to enter our prompt. So does everyone remember the scenario Rachel told us at the beginning of the demo?
You guys remember? I do. I can quickly rephrase. We're sending out a bot to check NPS and manage customer complaints. We're supposed to collect the email, summary, and the name, the order number, sorry, and then order number. See, I'm failing my own test. The order number, sorry, those are the 3 things we need to do. Email, order number, summary of the issue if there's a complaint.
Perfect, thanks, Rachel. Okay, so we've already written out the prompts, which is the instructions, just for the sake of being faster, but I'll go ahead and walk you through the prompts. So we're going to tell GPT, you are an agent in charge of collecting the customer information. You need to collect the order number, a summary of the issue, and the email address associated with the account. When you have all the information, respond with an agent will be in contact. And these keywords are very important because this helps us to know when we can exit the loop or when we can exit the dialogue. Because if we don't give it a keyword, then we won't know when we can stop asking questions or anything. After that, we're going to have the conversation history box, which was our memory box, where we're putting the conversation history. And then here we have the dialogue. So we have client says this user input is where we're going to store the text or question from the user. And then we say, you say this. And since it's a completions model, its job is to complete the dialogue. So it's going to complete the you part and we'll display that to the user. So let's go ahead and copy this and we'll put it in the webhook.
And just so we're clear, user input is what we're saying is the customer's response. So that's the name of the variable. Response is what we're going to put for GPT-3's response, right? And then conversation history is what we're using as the name for the variable to save, to have the memory of the conversation, right? To record the history.
Exactly, yeah. So at the moment, we're working with those three variables, the user input, the GPT output, and then the memory or the conversation history. So let's go ahead and paste this in the prompts. And we don't want to see all of these colors. All of these colors means it's not working. So let's go ahead and make this all one line. That way we don't break the body. All right, so we just want to see yellow for string and then purple for integer. All right, so we have the model and the prompts, and now we need the token. So we can think of tokens as characters. It's a bit more complex than that because some tokens can be up to 4 characters. But just for the sake of simplicity, let's think of the tokens as the character limit. So right now we have a character limit of 7, and that will give us maybe 2 or 3 words. We need a lot more than that. So I'm going to say 2,000. There's no way we need that many, but this is just the limit. So this doesn't mean it's going to use 2,000 tokens. It just means it has until that much before we cut it off.
So just to clarify, so tokens are really just talking about the amount of space, right, needed for GPT to give a response, and also for the customer or the user in this case to also ask questions and also have a response, right? So we can think about this like Twitter. Twitter gives you a limited number of characters in order to be able to tweet something. So when you expand the number of tokens, you allow for more space. And just because we're giving more tokens, in this case 2,000, doesn't mean we're going to use all of them, correct?
Exactly. Thank you, Rachel. You said it very well. That's exactly right. And these tokens are for the response. So it's also going to take tokens for the prompt. And I think the combined amount of tokens for both the prompt and the response is around 4,000. And remember, every iteration of the bot, we're going to use more tokens because every iteration, our memory box is going to be a little bit bigger. And our conversation history is going to be a little bit bigger. All right, so let's move to the temperature. We can think of the temperature kind of like the randomness of bot. This has a maximum temperature of 1. And it goes in increments of 0.1, so I can say like 0.2, 0.3. If I set it at 1, it could respond with gibberish. So I like to keep it at 0. But maybe if you're doing something very creative, you can set it to a higher temperature. But I like to stick with 0, so we'll do that here.
So this is what helps it not to hallucinate as much, right? So if you put the temperature at 0, it means that you don't allow it to have any creative freedom or not as much. So the LLM,
yeah.
Okay.
So the hallucinations, we can control those a little bit better with the prompt as well as the temperature. So in the prompt, we don't give it any room for interpretation because if we give it room for interpretation, who knows what it will come up with. So we control the hallucination with the temperature and with the prompts. At the end of the day, it will still hallucinate once in a while. This isn't something we can control. But for the most part, that's how we can keep it under control.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is because it's one of the limitations of the LLMs of today. But yes.
Yeah, it's one of the downfalls. So let's go ahead and test our request. See if we did it correctly. If not, it's going to tell us. Right, the moment of truth. All right, perfect. We got a 200. That means everything was okay. And it responded with all of this. So obviously we don't want to show the user all of this because this means nothing to them. We just want to show them the text. So let's remember that. And it says, for example, hello, I'm an agent in charge of collecting information. We can change that later with the prompts, but we'll just stick with that for now. So since we just want to save this text, let's click on Save Responses Variables. The default is to save everything. In some cases that's useful, but not in our case. So we're just going to click on that banner and we're going to scroll down to choices.0.text. It's always the same. And we're going to select this text. And this way we can show only this text to the user.
Okay.
So we're saving this. Yes,
So
go ahead.
make sure that we don't show any other information. So just the response is what we want to show to the customer in this case.
Yeah, exactly. So to save the response, we just first test the webhook, and then we have the option to click here and select which part of the response we want. And we're going to save this as response because it's the response from GPT that will show the user later. All right, and we need an output in case there's an error, so we can tell the user to try again later maybe. So we'll toggle on this response routing. If you guys remember, 200 means everything is A-okay, so we'll stick with that. And OpenAI will give us a 429 if something's wrong. So let's imagine you accidentally deleted your API key or there's a server overload. In this cases, that will give us a 429, and we can tell the user to try again another time. So let's zoom out. I have an error output here, so I'll just connect that to the 429. All right, and then I will connect the 200 here. And here's the part where we're going to add to our conversation history. So we're going to use a formula to add information to this container. And I've already written out the formula here. My colleague is going to send it to you guys in the chat, so don't worry, it's pretty simple. We're just going to copy that, not the formula part. And we'll go over here. All right, so this, go ahead.
No, so does everyone remember algebra class and the order of operations? This is very similar to that. So yes, you have it in the chat so you can use it later, and it's also in the template, which you guys will receive after this.
Yeah, I recommend just adding it and forgetting it's there. You don't really have to worry what it means, but basically we're just pushing the response from GPT, and later we'll push the user input into our memory box or our conversation history array. So we're pushing those things in, and every time the conversation history container will be a little bit bigger as it gets more information from the user and GPT. This way, GPT doesn't ask the same question twice, basically. All right, so here we're going to display the response from GPT to the user. We'll just remove this and we'll select response. And then we'll give the user the chance to respond. So let's imagine GPT is asking, what's your order number? We want the user to respond, and we're going to save their response as user input. All right. So in theory, we could just loop back to GPT and feed it the information from the user input in our conversation history bot. But this will create an internal loop. So we need a way to exit the loop. You guys remember from the prompt, we gave it some keywords. So the keywords were an agent will be in contact. So let's just go with agent. And let's say, under the condition, the conditions block. So under the condition, that response contains the keyword agent. So if this is true, it's going to take the green output and we can exit the flow. However, if the response does not contain agent, this is going to be false, and it's going to take the red output, which means we still need to gather information from the user. So we'll just loop back to the webhook. We don't want to loop back to the container because then we'll set it at 0, and that's not good. So we just want to loop back to the webhook. And that way we have this dialogue between GPT user until we collect all the information that we need. All right, guys, we're almost done. That was fast. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, we're going to exit the flow now. So we want the webhook to basically tell GPT to summarize the user issue. So I'm just going to make a copy of this webhook, that way we don't have to set it up all over again. So I'll just put it over here. All right, so under the condition that the response contains agent, this is true, we'll go here And we'll say to GPT, we'll change the instructions because we don't need the same instructions. Now we need different instructions. So we're just going to remove this. All right, so we want to keep the conversation history variable because we're going to use that. All right, so I'm just going to say, write a summary of the conversation history. And then I'm going to feed it our memory box for our conversation history so it knows what to write a summary about. All right, and I don't need an error output because I'm just going to continue either way. So I'm going to connect this to our database, in our case, Airtable. And this is already set up. But basically, it's just sending response because we're still saving our variables response. So it's just sending the summary in this case to our database. And yeah, now we just need to say goodbye. So to commemorate finishing the flow, let's ask the audience, how should we conclude our conversation with the user once we've obtained all of the information? And remember, we're already saying an agent will be in contact, so we need something complementary to that.
Okay, so audience members, so the Airtable is so that our customer service team can receive the summary of the complaint. So now we just need to close out this message. So what do we want our bot to say goodbye to the customer after they've sent in their complaint? I see goodbye, talk to you soon. Why don't we do that? Can we add in a
Perfect.
goodbye emoji? Because that's fun.
Yeah, okay. I already have this here, so just copy that. Goodbye, talk soon. All right, our bot is done. So it's the moment to send it out to everyone and let you all test it. So don't forget to click on the angry face, otherwise you won't get to test the AI. So
Okay.
we're going to, yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just saying, okay, let's send this campaign.
Perfect. So to send a campaign, we'll go to WhatsApp campaigns. Pretty intuitive. We're going to go to our WhatsApp number. We're going to go to campaigns. All right, so here we can go ahead and send a campaign. It's going to click on new campaign. Let's call this webinar AI. All right, you guys are my audience. Here we go, AI webinar.
This is from all your subscriptions. Everyone who has scanned the QR code or subscribed via the link we sent in the chat, so you'll be able to interact with this bot.
All right, it's time to choose the message template. Maybe Rachel, you can explain that a bit.
Yeah, so we've already requested this message template for approval previously. So it's kind of like one of those cooking shows where it's halfway done. But it takes about 1 to 2 days for WhatsApp to approve your message templates, which you can do inside Landbot. This is the new utility template that we're using. And the reason why is because it has to do with a post-purchase order. Okay, so it's more for utility services, and it is a business initiated type of communication. It's proactive, which is why we asked you guys to subscribe. So yes, we actually had this template approved and we asked for it on Tuesday and it was approved by Wednesday. So they're pretty fast at that. So yeah, this is the template that you guys are going to be receiving now.
Perfect. Yeah, and we can reuse these templates as much as we want. We only have to request them once. And we're going to link the bots. All right, link existing bots. All right, guys, it's time to trigger the campaign. Here we go.
Okay, drum roll, everyone. I am waiting. We're all waiting to receive it. And while the time we're waiting to receive it, I see that we've had some questions in regards to pricing. So I'm just going to scroll through the chat and make sure that I tackle that because I've seen it a couple of times now. So there was a question in regards to our pricing. I think it was from Peter. Yes. So we're a SaaS company, so we have our freemium plan. So there are 3 different plans: the starter, professional, and business. The commitment is annual, but you can pay up front for a 20% discount or also pay on a monthly basis, on which the discount therefore wouldn't apply. There are different variables such as volume, so conversations per month, number of seats, so how many users, the number of WhatsApp business accounts, or also WhatsApp integrations that you're using. This will make the price vary a bit. The pricing is public and you can see it on landbot.io/pricing. So I'm just going to check and make sure that we got the bot. Has everyone received the bot yet? I still have not. Okay. There's another question about as we're waiting for that. Thank you, Chris, for sending that through as we wait for our bot. We're gonna keep going with the Q&A as we wait for everyone to receive it. Okay, so there was a question about from Chime. So long conversations will be max tokens. So I think that you're asking Chime, in regards to long conversations will use all the tokens. So I think what Abby was saying here was just to put max tokens just in case to cover the whole conversation, not that it would use all of those tokens. Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that's what was said.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just the limit. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to use all of these tokens. And I have never seen it use all the tokens unless your prompt is like 4 pages long. But you can see that when you test the webhook in the response body, it tells you how much tokens you've used for that request.
Okay. I think we're still waiting on the campaign. So Abby, I don't know if it said it was sent, but just making sure. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes. In regards to the template, I'll go ahead and have my colleagues send that in the chat right now. Again, in order to be able to use this template, you'll need to have an account with Landbot. So just make sure that you do have that. And if not, you can obviously sign up. We also have a 14-day trial period. You also will need a WhatsApp testing number in order to be able to use it. So just in case. Yes, Chris has gone ahead and sent through the bot template. So we're just waiting on the last part, which is for the campaign to be launched. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer one more question, and then I think we can go ahead and close. And then hopefully by then you all will receive the bot. So Abby, there was a question in regards to the metrics. So I don't know if you just wanted to share your screen really quick and potentially show them the analyze section.
Yeah, of course. Let's do that.
Hopefully our bot comes through. We're just waiting on it. It should.
Yeah, I haven't received the notification yet, so hopefully very soon. All right, guys, so this is the metrics section of WhatsApp. And one of the more complicated parts about WhatsApp is that it doesn't allow us to measure user engagement with Google Analytics or anything like that. So we have our own metrics section where we can see how many users are using our bot, where they're dropping off. So here we can select like more current statistics. And then the user section, I won't show that because that contains confidential information. But let's go to Flow Analytics. So this part is really interesting because we can see at which part the user has dropped off. Maybe we have an error in our flow, or maybe the user just gets bored. So this is really helpful to change up those parts. Like I can see here, people stopped responding at ask a question. So maybe in the future, I would want to change that. But yeah, that's the metrics part.
Okay, thank you. Edvin says that he's received the message, so that's great. Everyone in the chat, can you let us know if you've received the campaign? And if not, you should in a couple minutes, so you get to play with it as soon as we're done. And just a reminder as well, in order to interact with this bot, you've got the campaign. Great, Chloe, this is great. Some of us are getting it. I know it sends it out little by little, so it's great to see that some of us are getting it. Make sure you click the unhappy emoji if you want to interact with GPT, okay? So, all right, so you should have received or be receiving the AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot now. I'm waiting for mine still, but it should be here shortly. So what's so powerful about GPT-3 and GPT 3.5 is that it really opens up the possibility for conversations to be non-linear. So in most cases, if a customer doesn't get the answer to the question they're looking for, they're going to go away unsatisfied, right? However, with this new technology, the bot is actually able to reconduct itself, getting and also providing information to customers or also prospects, depending on the case, right? I got the campaign, it just got here in an almost human-like way. And this is the real power of ChatGPT. So, and the possibilities to generate or qualify leads or even provide quality customer service are actually endless. So you guys, now that this webinar is complete, you will receive in the upcoming days a thank you email for joining us today, which will contain the recording of this webinar, access to the Rise of WhatsApp-led Growth report, And you'll also be sent the bot template that we made today. We already sent it in the chat because we had some people already asking about it. And this is so you can start building your own AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot with a little bit of help. You'll need a Landbot account, as I said, and a WhatsApp testing number to also be able to use it. So I'll go ahead and have my colleagues send that in the chat one more time, just in case. And then also to close, we're going to be sending out a quick survey after this webinar. We would really appreciate it if you could take just 1 minute to answer the question so we can improve and make our next webinar even better. So I wanted to especially thank our speakers today for participating in our Building WhatsApp Chatbots webinar powered by AI. And then also thank the audience. You guys have been super engaged, which has made it a really fun conversation to have. This has been a really interesting session, and we hope that it's inspired you to start building your own AI-powered WhatsApp chatbots today. And then also, big thank you to Abby. Thank you so much for such an incredible demo. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed myself. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close out and say goodbye. Thanks, you guys.